story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to narcotics detail. A gang of veteran dope peddlers moves into your city. They offer $100,000 worth of heroin for sale. They make their contacts. They're ready to do business. Your job, stop them.
You'll be amazed when you compare Fatima with other long cigarettes.
Buy a pack of Fatimas.
You'll find they now cost the same.
Light a Fatima. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, what a difference.
In Fatima, the difference is quality. You see, Fatima is the quality king-size cigarette because it contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild with a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. Because of its quality, its extra mildness, its better flavor and aroma, Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast.
Try comparing Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, June 24th. It was sultry in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of narcotics. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 9:27 a.m. when I got to the Charing Cross Apartments on 12th Street. The side entrance.
Hi.
Hi. Anything doing?
Nothing.
How's the bug working?
Better. One of the fellows from the crime lab came out and fixed it last night. Went next door and replaced the microphone. I'm getting real sour on this detail, Joe.
Well, here, let me take over for a while, huh?
Yeah, you bet you. Here. My ears feel like a couple of baked cauliflowers. 2 solid weeks holed up in this place with a pair of earphones on.
Yeah.
What do we got to show for it? That woman next door hasn't even mentioned narcotics in 2 weeks. All she does is eat, sleep, and play solitaire. Goes out for groceries once in a while.
Hold it. Somebody ringing the buzzer next door.
First visitor in a week.
Yeah. Just a minute.
Yes?
Your name is May Washington.
That's right. What is it?
I talked to a friend of yours, George. Said it might be a good idea if I looked you up.
What do you want to see me about?
Well, it's business, Miss Washington. Could we talk inside?
All right. Come on in.
Let me plug in these earphones, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to introduce myself, Miss Washington. My name's Howard Scully. You and George were former associates, I understand.
Oh, we worked together a little. What can I do for you?
Well, George and I are old friends. We were in business in Hong Kong before the war. He's a nice fellow, George.
No, I have a date downtown in half an hour. I don't have much time to talk.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were in such a hurry. I'll get right to the point.
Yeah.
My business partners and I just came up from Mexicali a few days ago, and we have some merchandise that's ready for the market. It's good quality.
That's what I hear.
I contacted George, thinking he might introduce me to some prospective buyers. He said he didn't want to handle any merchandise at this time.
Why not?
Oh, it's something about the police. Seemed to be watching him. He just didn't want to take any part in any business venture. Just thought I might just get it.
And George gave you a bum steer sending it to me. I can't help
Well,
it.
you haven't heard my proposition.
I don't have to hear it. Count me out. I don't fool around with junk, any of it. It's a tough rap out here.
Well, if you'll just listen to my proposition, Miss
No.
Washburn. I'm not, no, please, I'm not asking you to be involved. perfectly safe and legitimate transaction in mind. You'll be well paid for your time and effort with no risk whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. All you big connections make it sound good.
George tells me you're acquainted with the right kind of people. People with money, that's the kind of people that my partners and I want to meet. Now, all I'm asking you to do is introduce me to a few such persons for our mutual benefit, and then you just leave the rest to me.
Yeah, it's still too much. If I gave you an office to a buyer and you were caught, they'd get me for conspiracy.
No, there's
I've seen too much of it, Scully. It's no sale.
Well, you'll just have to believe me, Miss Washburn. No one's going to be caught. Now, we work in an entirely different manner. The police haven't any idea of our method of operation. We've tested it in 6 big cities in the Orient. And not once did it fail us, and I tell you, it's not going to fail us here.
It's your story.
Well, it's perfect.
I'm not chancing a rap to prove you're wrong.
What?
Here, do you want a cigarette?
Yes, thank you. No, that's right.
Okay. Thanks.
Now, I'm only asking one thing, Miss Washburn. An introduction to the right party, and that's all. Now, you know my reputation. I'll make it well worth your while. If the connection is right, you can live on your take for the rest of the year.
I don't have many friends. Just a few whom I guaranteed for my payoff.
Well, I can deposit the money with George. He'll hold it until the deal is made. What do you say?
An introduction. That's all.
That's all we'll need. Our product speaks for itself.
I know a fellow out in Hollywood. His name's McMillan. I can call him and tell him to meet you.
That'll be fine. How soon?
I'm not going to introduce you.
No, that won't
I'll
be-
set up a meet for you, that's all.
All right, that's all we ask. Do you have this, Mr. McMillan?
McMillan.
You have him meet me tonight?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, tonight at 11:30, I'll be at the corner of 7th and Alameda. Now, remember this now.
Yeah, all right.
Corner of 7th and Alameda at 11:30 exactly. I'll have on a gray coat, and I'll be carrying a book. Now, McMillan shouldn't have any trouble recognizing me. You just tell him to walk right up to me, put out his hand, and say, "My name's McMillan," that's all. I'll know if he's the right party. My name's McMillan. That's all he has to say.
All right, I've got it. I'll pass it on to you.
Fine. Well, I'll make arrangements with George as soon as possible to take care of your fee. Thank you very much, Miss Washburn.
Not at all. Just don't be too sure of yourself. The fuzz in this town could smell a bite 3 miles away.
We'll take care of the police, Miss Washburn. The system should teach them a few lessons. Well, goodbye, Miss Washburn. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Don't come here after this. Call me on the phone.
Certainly. Goodbye.
Joe, wait a minute. She's going for the phone. Come on.
Just a minute.
Try the door.
It's locked.
What do you want?
Police officers.
All right, what's the pitch?
I'd like to talk to you downtown.
About what?
Howard Scully.
What about him?
We know why he was here. Get your coat, please.
I haven't done anything.
Come on, lady, let's go.
I told Scully I didn't want in. He made the proposition, but I didn't buy it. You know that. I didn't buy a word of it.
We did. Before the suspect was taken downtown, we informed her landlady to tell anyone that she'd be out of town for a week. That information was to be passed on to any of her friends or business acquaintances who might try to contact her. After that, we took May Washburn back to the office. After being questioned thoroughly, she was detained for further investigation. At 2 p.m., Ben and I met with Captain Kearney, Central Narcotics, and Inspector Virgil Beckner, State Narcotics Bureau, Southern Division.
$100,000 buy, is that what they have in mind?
That's the word around town, Skipper. Washburn girl told us the same thing.
The Washburn woman was approached for an office, huh?
Yes, that's right, Beck. She was ready to go when we picked her up. Pusher's Howard Scully, you remember him?
About 9 years ago, wasn't it, the Tijuana deal?
8 or 9 years, yeah. That big heroin buy, they tagged every one of the gang but Scully.
Yeah, he's no amateur. He's got every narcotic law in the book memorized. He sets the deals, takes the gravy, but he never gets tagged.
How about the federal narcotics men, Romero? They've been briefed on this deal?
I called Harry Stone over there this morning. They've been following it, too. Said he'd be over this afternoon.
The setup of this McMillan guy. What do you think, Campbell?
Clear sailing there, Beck, as far as I can see. Scully set up to meet with May Washburn. Ben and Joe grabbed her before she could contact McMillan. Unless Scully's got a Ouija board, he still must figure everything's Jake.
Then we could have a man meet with Scully tonight and pass himself off as McMillan.
Well, shouldn't be too much trouble. From the way he talks, Scully's never seen McMillan. Has no idea what he looks like. It's just a guess.
Neither one of you are known to Scully, are you?
I never met him or his friends.
I worked that case last February when we grabbed Ray Murdoch. He used to be a mule for Scully. That's as close as I've been.
Well, I'm afraid that's too close. You know how many hide friends Murdoch has in this town. If any of them spot you and pass the word to Scully, the whole deal's choked off. Joe? You think you could pass yourself off as McMillan for a couple of days?
I'd like to give it a try.
Beck, what do you think?
Good with me. We can help with the tailing. Only one possible hitch I can see.
Yeah?
We're not positive this guy McMillan's a total stranger to Scully.
It sure sounded like it, didn't it, Joe? The way Scully and the Washburn girl were talking.
It's possible Scully might have seen a picture of McMillan. Maybe he knows something about his background, his habits, how he does business.
Well, it's possible, yeah.
Suppose Scully starts asking you questions, Joe. How are you going to cover it?
Well, we could talk to the Washburn girl again. She might brief us.
Now, if we need the guy's life history, let's pick it up firsthand.
How do you mean?
Get McMillan.
Late that afternoon, Stanley McMillan was located at a small restaurant out in the valley and quietly placed under arrest. He was booked at one of the outlying stations on suspicion of violating the State Narcotics Act. We questioned him and got all the necessary information on his background that we needed. He told us that he had never seen or had any dealings before with Howard Scully. 7:30 p.m. I went home, changed my clothes, put away my gun, ID card, and the rest of my identification. An hour later, I checked in at a small hotel near 5th and Main Streets. 11:15 p.m., I left the hotel and started for 7th and Alameda Streets, where the scheduled meet with Howard Scully was to take place. As in most cases, there was one all-important rule that I had to work by. If the suspects were to be arrested and successfully prosecuted, we had to get them with narcotics in their possession or under their control. And one of the first things that the working detective learns is that dealers such as Scully rarely do the actual handling of narcotics except at the actual moment of sale. If the officer fails to make an arrest at that moment, the odds are stacked heavily against the conviction of the narcotics criminal. 11:30 p.m. I got to the corner of 7th and Alameda Streets. I walked up to a man standing by a lamppost. He was short, heavily built, dark hair, dark eyes, and a small scar on his chin. He had on a gray coat, and he carried a book under one arm. I put out my hand.
Yes?
My name's McMillan.
Oh, glad to know you, Mr. McMillan. My name's Scully.
How are you?
I understand we have mutual friends. Is that correct?
That's what I'm told, yeah.
You're from Louisiana originally, New Orleans.
No.
Oh, that's so? Thought you were from Louisiana.
Oh, Missouri, St. Louis.
Oh, I see. I suppose we go for a drive, huh?
My hotel's down on 5th. We could talk there.
Oh, I think my car would be better.
I can't afford to waste time. I got customers waiting.
Oh, you can believe me, this won't be a waste of time. I'm prepared to do business.
All right, let's go.
Fine. No, go ahead, McMillan.
All right, thanks.
Oh, will you raise that handle on the other side so I can get in?
Yeah, sure.
Fine. Thank you. You can't be too careful in L.A., I hear.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of heat.
Oh? I hope none of it's on you.
Don't worry, I'm clean.
No tumbles.
But I'd be here if there were. I got customers to protect, good customers.
Fine. You know, maybe we can do business. How much can you handle?
How much you got?
How about 10,000 worth? Standard rate, full measure. Hardly cut it off.
Sounds fair. We drove 3 more blocks, and then Scully pulled the car to a stop underneath a row of spreading palm trees on a deserted street. He pulled the emergency brake on, then he turned to me, clamped my arms to my sides, and shook me down. What's the pitch here? What's the idea?
No offense, McMillan. Simple precaution in case you had a gun.
What do you take me for, mister? I'm not used to doing business this way. That might go real great in the East, but it's nothing out here.
Oh, no. I said no offense. This is a hot town. You could be a fuzz. You can't be too careful. You know that.
Yeah, well, you don't have to pull that careful stuff with me. Who set up this meet, anyway?
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Oh, no.
Ah, that's different.
Yes, what a difference.
There's a difference you can hear, there's a difference you can see, but the difference in Fatima is quality.
Yes, friends, when you compare long cigarettes, you'll find that in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality of tobaccos. The finest Turkish and domestic varieties, extra mild and superbly blended to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, plump cigarettes, rolled in the finest paper money can buy.
Quality even to the appearance of the bright, clean yellow package. Carefully wrapped and sealed to bring you Fatima's rich, fresh, extra mild flavor.
Fatima's cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all, long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
June 25th, Thursday, 12:30 a.m. I had 2.5 hours to raise $10,000. The narcotics dealers, Howard Scully and his partner, Jim Rhodes, had laid it out for me. Either I had the money by 3 a.m. or there was no deal. If it failed to come off, our plan to trap the narcotics gang would be worth nothing. Rhodes and Scully could possibly find another buyer without our knowledge, make a deal, and flood the market with their store of narcotics. I knew it'd be impossible to get the $10,000 together. We had only one alternative, fake our way as best we could. I went back to the hotel, put a call through to Captain Kearney at the office, and told him what had happened. He went to work on it. From the Narcotic Details Emergency Fund, set up for such purposes, we got together $600. From Chief of Detectives Thad Brown, Deputy Chief White, the State Narcotics Bureau, and anyone else available by phone, we succeeded in rounding up another $350. 2:30 a.m. The money was tied in 2 small bundles, with hundreds, 50s, and 20s on top. $1 bills were sandwiched in between. The 2 bundles were placed in a briefcase and delivered to me at the hotel on 5th Street. The gun was also in the briefcase. I took it out, put it in my pocket, closed the briefcase. 2:45 a.m. I left the hotel with the money and started for the big meet. 3 a.m., 7th and Alameda.
McMillan, how are you?
Scully?
We're down this way. You have the money?
Well, your pal said all or nothing. I got it.
Let's have a look.
How about the merchandise?
We can check it in the cards right down here.
Rhodes?
All right. The money?
Yeah, that's right. I got the money. Now, how about a look at this stuff? I'd like to know what I'm buying.
We can stop on the way for a sample. Okay, Howard. Care for some, McMullen?
What do you got?
Cashew nuts. Have some.
Thank you.
There's lots of heat in this town. Cops as thick as flies.
Yeah, that's right. Rough time. I gotta be careful.
What's the reason, anyway? When to start?
Well, about 6 weeks ago, Bulls tagged some high school kids. Half a dozen of them.
Huh?
What for? Well, they were regular hypes. Just punks, 18-year-olds. A couple of them were 17.
Young squirts.
Yeah, and the heat's going to get worse. One of the punks cashed in yesterday. Read it in the paper. Overdosed.
Not going to help business.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm playing it close. I got good customers, and I'm not going to risk my neck.
How much stuff do you think you can handle a month, McMullen?
No thanks, no more. Oh, I got about 30 mainliners. They're regular and they're short. 8-10 ounces a week, but they like good stuff, no alley hype junk.
Howard must have told you that's all we handle, good stuff. If it goes right, we could make it a permanent connection with you.
Well, I'd like to see what you're offering first.
We'll have a good look. All right, Howard, you know where to pull up.
Yeah.
Here, stay in the car, McMullen.
All right.
Yeah. All right, Mac, you can get out.
Yep.
There you go. Some of the best white stuff you've seen in a long time. Satisfy yourself.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, it's standard.
It's all good. Not just that sample.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, now how about the money?
All right, have a look. There you are. 1 stack. 2 stacks, hundreds, 20s, 10s. A few 5s in there. It's $10 grand. Satisfied?
Okay. Jim?
Right.
Oh, excuse me, Mac. Just a minute. I'm just checking.
What do you think you're doing? Get your lousy hands off of me.
Now, no offense, McMillan. These are simple precautions.
Precautions, nothing. We're doing business, aren't we? You shook me down once tonight. Now, how many times are going to take you?
No offense, Mac. He's just checking, that's all.
All right, then. Suppose I fan you two down. I got the dough. How do I know this isn't a hijack deal? Now, come on. This business works both ways. Either we have a deal or we don't. We play ball on both sides or not at all. I'm getting sick and tired of taking second place.
Okay, Mac. Okay, take it easy. Forget it, Howard. Let's all go back to the car.
Sure. I'm sorry, Mac. No offense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's close the deal.
Where are we going to go?
Don't worry, it's a safe place. Okay, Howard.
"3:35 a.m. In another hour, it'd start getting light. I knew they'd planned to have the buy take place before then. According to our plan, Ben and Sergeant Hunt, along with the other team of men from the State Narcotics Bureau, they were to tail us to the place of the meet and move in on a signal from me when the buy was actually in progress. 3:45 a.m. Scully drove out North Figueroa onto Pasadena Avenue and turned right onto Avenue 43. We headed up Montecito Drive. The area became more deserted. There were no homes around, no buildings of any kind to provide cover for anybody that might be following. Somewhere below, we could hear the rattle of a freight train on its way to the Southern Pacific yards. Off in the distance, I could see the lights of the city. They looked pretty far away. Scully finally pulled the car to a stop on the crest of the highest hill in the area. We got out.
What do you think, Mac?
Well, a nice view.
Yeah. Spent a long time finding this spot. Foolproof.
Yeah?
Bring him over here, Jim. Let's show him.
Come on. See there? Clear view of everything down below. At least half a mile in every direction. No chance of getting trapped up here.
Pretty smart. That's the way I like to deal.
If there's any cops following us, we can see the lights before they get here. Plenty of time to cover up any evidence. Cops ask questions, well, we tell them we're just looking at real estate up here. It's pretty good, huh?
Well, I gotta hand it to you. You can't be too careful. What do you do for lookouts?
Let me show you. Swede? Oh, Swede.
Who's that?
Friend.
Yeah, Jim?
Well, what's the pitch? Who is this guy?
Business pal of Howard and me. Swede, this is Mr. McMillan.
What do you say?
How do you do?
Look, how many people do you need to make a buy, Rhodes, huh?
Swede's our lookout. It's a big fella, isn't he?
We got enough people here for a Sunday picnic.
We need a lookout. You just got finished saying it. We can't be too careful.
Well, come on, let's wrap it up. Where's the stuff?
Swede, you want to go?
Okay, Howard.
How far does he have to go?
Close by. Stuff was put away down in the tall grass. Nobody ever found it.
It's a good idea. I like the way you operate.
Swede will have the stuff for you in a minute. Well, how about the money? Should we count it?
Rather wait till Swede gets back.
Okay. Let's wait for the car.
Can't beat this spot, can you, McMillan?
No, it's good.
You had no idea how much time we spent looking for it.
You did real good.
Yeah. Here you go.
Okay, thanks.
Now the money,
Well, how about counting it out here, huh? I'd feel better keeping an eye on that road down below.
Okay, good idea.
Well, let's count it, Mac, huh?
Yeah, all right. There you go. There's one bundle, and there's the other.
I'll count it, Jim.
Yeah, snap it up. We've been here long enough already.
1, 2, 4. There's quite a few $1 bills here.
Huh?
Well, there's a few of them, but it's all there, 10
Well,
grand.
that's how it could be with all these ones.
Here, let me see.
Don't bother, Rhodes.
Here, what are you trying to pull?
All right, get away from the car, Scully. You too, Swede.
Put the gun down, Mac. You won't get away
Get
with
your
it.
hands behind your head. That means you too, Rhodes.
Nobody's hijacked us, McMillan. You're not going to be the first one.
It's no hijack, mister. This is a pinch.
He's a fuzz. He's a lousy fuzzy. I knew I should have found him again.
Shut up, Howard. You know we can square this with you, Mac. $5,000 cold cash, no questions.
You're talking to yourself, Rhodes.
I'll make it 10. 10 grand cash. Now, you can't afford to pass that up.
Come on, how about it, Mac? You're human just like we are. You can use the dough.
You keep your hands behind your head, mister.
Use some sense, copper. Swede's as strong as a horse. I could put him on you, he'd break every bone in your body.
You're going to have to get past this gun first.
You're not going to stop all three of us. How do you think you're going to get back to town?
Don't worry, he won't have to walk.
You'll never get us downtown. Sweet'll break you in half. He'll kill you.
You just gave me an idea, Rhodes.
Huh?
You're pretty tough. Shouldn't bother you. I'll kill the Swede right now. You and Scully can carry his body in front of me. We'll start walking down that road and we hit the nearest place with a phone. I think that'll take care of it, won't it?
He hasn't got the guts, Jim.
Turn around, Swede.
Look, don't kill me, mister. I'll go with you. Don't shoot.
Turn around. Stay where you are, Scully.
Don't kill him, Copper. Don't kill Swede. We'll do anything you say.
Somebody coming. Look, Mac, we'll give you every dime we own. $50,000 bucks. Now tell him nothing's happened.
Ben, over here.
50 grand, Mac. You can't lose.
Right, Joe. Back. Back over this way.
The three of them, Ben.
Okay. All right, behind your back. Come on. Couldn't get here any sooner, Joe. Had to park at the bottom of the hill if they'd have seen us.
Stand still, mister.
Yeah.
We circled around on foot, climbed up through the grass.
I was beginning to think I lost you.
All right, you two, get him behind your back.
Back.
Hi, Joe.
Here's the junk right here. These two packages.
Good. That ought to sew it up.
Look, talk it over with your partners, huh? $50,000 bucks. You do the right thing. It's all yours.
How about it? 50 grand you can't lose.
What they talking about, Joe?
But they got a big deal. They'll give us $50,000 if we let them go.
How about it, Tex? You could use the dough, new car, new house. Just forget you ever saw us. Easy as that. 50,000 cash. What do you say, Tex, huh?
Sorry, you got the wrong man.
What?
My name ain't Tex.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
In a moment, the results of their trial. Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. In his training, the working detective is taught the importance of thoroughness. He has learned never to overlook even the smallest detail. What may seem unimportant to the novice may well be the one thing to help the working detective successfully culminate his case. So, with a cigarette. The people who make Fatima are well-trained and thorough in the manufacture of their cigarette. Fatimas contain the finest Turkish and domestic tobacco superbly blended. And pack after pack, Fatima is extra mild. If you're a long cigarette smoker like I am, smoke Fatima. They cost the same, but in Fatima, the difference is quality. Smoke Fatima.
May Washburn, Howard Lewis Scully, James Henry Rhodes, and John Swede Nelson were tried and convicted. They received their sentences as prescribed by law and are now serving their term in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases, portions transcribed from official files.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. The life of a young woman is in danger. Anonymous letters and phone calls threaten her with murder. The notes bear the mark of a fanatic. Your job, stop them.
You'll be amazed when you compare Fatima with other long cigarettes.
Buy a pack of Fatimas.
You'll find they now cost the same.
Light a Fatima. Your first puff will tell you...
Oh, that's different.
Yes, what a difference.
In Fatima, the difference is quality. You see, Fatima is the quality king-size cigarette because it contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild with a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. Because of its quality, its extra mildness, its better flavor and aroma, Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast.
Try comparing Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all, long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, March 8th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Steed. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 6:45 p.m. when we got to Greenwich Street, number 318.
Yes, gentlemen?
Police officers. I'd like to see Dr. Small, please.
I'm Reverend Small. Won't you come in?
Thank you.
Here, let me take your hats, officers. I've been waiting for you.
Oh, thanks. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Sergeant Romero.
How do you do? I'm glad to know you.
How do you do, sir? Hope we didn't interrupt your dinner.
Oh, no. The organist, Brother Reber, and I were just running over a few hymns for the service tonight. Would you come this way, please, into the parlor?
All right.
As I mentioned on the telephone, I'm not much of a detective, but I think something should be done about this matter as soon as possible.
Well, we'd like to get a few more particulars first, Reverend. When did you first find out about these threatening letters?
Sister Dorothy Wilson, I think I told you about her. She came here to the rectory and showed them to me. She told me she's been getting them for the last 4 days, and phone calls, too.
Mm-hmm. How long have you known this Dorothy Wilson? Is she one of your regular parishioners?
Well, she first joined my congregation about a month ago. She's been in regular attendance at our services ever since.
Is that the church next door, joining the rectory here?
Yes, that's right, Sergeant. Second Reformed Church at the Holy Book. I founded it here about 3 years ago, and I've been pastor ever since.
Have you ever had this trouble before? I mean, threats against the people who join your church?
No, never any trouble at all.
I wonder if you have those notes that Miss Wilson's been receiving, Reverend?
Yes, right here on my desk. Let me see, Yes, here are the 5 Sister Wilson got. And here are the 2 that I received.
Wonder if I could look at them.
Yes, surely. Here you are.
Thanks.
Oh, would you excuse me for a moment? It's about time for Brother Reber to get over to the church. I'd better tell him.
Certainly, Reverend. Didn't mean to hold you up.
No, not at all. I'll be back in just a moment.
All right.
What do they look like, Joe?
Yeah, let's see. Postmarks here are March 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th. Come from different places around town, according to the postmark. There's Long Beach, a couple from Azusa, Glendale here. No return address on any of them. This notebook paper looks like to me this one. Isn't it to you?
Yeah.
And there's this other one here. Looks like some kind of wrapping paper. The writing's not too bad. Let's see. According to the postmark, this is the first one they got, I guess.
Let me see. Dorothy Wilson, you are a sinner and you have led a sinful life. Yet you have the nerve to come into our church and make believe you're a Christian. Spelling sure is bad.
Yeah.
I have been coming to our church for a long time, and it is an outrage to have you praying in our temple. If you don't get out and stay out, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of for good. Look outside.
Sister in the Lord.
Must be some kind of a fanatic. We better run all these through the crime lab.
Yeah. This one, maybe it's typewritten. Well, here, you read it. It's dated March 6th.
Yeah, take this as a warning. Bring your sinful body to our church again, and your blood will run in the aisles. A life can be taken when God demands it. It could be yours.
Sorry for the interruption, officers. A few things I had to remind Brother Reber of.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen all the letters?
Well, we're just checking them over, Reverend.
It's certainly a terrible thing for our church. I hope we can keep the matter as quiet as possible.
Yes, sir. I noticed 2 different signatures on these notes. Now, half of them are signed a sister in the Lord.
Yes.
And the other half are signed it's Brother D.R. Griswold.
Yes, that's right. The first letter I got was from this Brother Griswold. His are the typewritten ones.
You know anyone in your congregation with that name, Reverend? D.R. Griswold?
No, I checked over my list of regular parishioners twice. If there is such a man, I don't know of him.
Well, we can run that name through R&I anyway, huh, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any suspicions at all, Reverend?
What do you mean, Sergeant?
Well, I mean, can you think of anybody in your congregation who might possibly resent this Miss Wilson's joining your church, maybe?
Well, no, I haven't had an opportunity to think it over in that light, but I can't imagine anybody in our group writing letters like this.
What's her background, Reverend? Do you know much about her?
No, she's a quiet girl. She's very religious. Works as a stenographer at an office downtown. Helps support her mother.
Will she be at church tonight?
Yes, she's here already, helping to set up the chairs for the service. Why, would you like to talk to her?
Yes, if we could.
All right, let's go over to the church. There's still half an hour before services begin.
We're fine. I'll have to take these letters along with us, Reverend. We want our handwriting man to check them over?
Yes, by all means. That manila envelope on the desk, you can put them in there if you like.
Thank you. This one here?
Yes.
Okay.
This way, officers.
How many members do you have in your church, Reverend Small?
162 regulars. Another 100 or so on the fringe. They attend only occasionally.
You mentioned that this Miss Wilson's had threatening phone calls, too.
Yes, that's what she told me this afternoon.
Man's voice or a woman?
Well, Sister Wilson said both. The phone calls usually follow each letter. They identify themselves the same way, Brother Griswold and a sister in the Lord.
Have you received any calls from them?
No, I've been half expecting them, but I haven't had any yet. Here, shall we go in?
Please.
Here we are. Our seating arrangement's still temporary. We hope to have pews installed next year.
Uh-huh. Nice church.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, there's Sister Wilson. She's helping set up the chairs. If you'd like to wait in the choir's dressing room, I'll bring her in there to you.
All right. Thank you, Reverend. Let's go, Ben.
This one, Joe?
Yeah, this is it.
Ought to open a few windows in here. It's musty.
Yeah. What time do you say the services start?
7:30. It's 5 minutes past 7 now.
Officers?
Yes, sir.
Officers, this is Sister Dorothy Wilson. Sister Wilson, Sergeant Friday.
How do you do, ma'am?
Hello.
And Sergeant Ramirez.
That's Romero.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sergeant Romero, Sister Wilson.
Hello.
Glad to know you.
I guess you want to speak with Sister Wilson alone, do you?
Well, we'd like to have you stay if you would, Reverend. Wonder if there's someplace where we could sit down.
Yes, certainly. Right over here in the anteroom.
Fine. Yeah, this will be fine.
Now, Sister Wilson, there's no need to be afraid. These officers are here to help you and to protect you. See that nothing happens.
Yes, Brother Small.
Hold fast in the faith of the Lord, and you shall not fear.
Yes, I will. You want me to tell you all about it, Sergeant, how it started?
Well, if you please. Say, is it all right to smoke in here?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
You want a chair for a second?
No, thank you.
No, thanks.
Ben?
Not right now.
Okay, I'll leave it back there if you want. We've already looked over the letters that you received. The Reverend here told us that you got the first one last Friday.
Yes, that's right. I've gotten one each day since then. Phone calls, too.
Did you recognize the voices making the call?
No, I didn't know them at all. The woman's voice was very rough. Sounded like she might be old.
Mm-hmm.
She said some terrible things about me and Brother Small. She called both of us terrible names. Awful.
The same with the man who called?
Oh, yes, sometimes he's even worse. None of the things they say are true, Sergeant. Not one word.
Well, I'd like you to think carefully before you answer this, Miss Wilson. Is there anyone at all that you know in your neighborhood, or here at church or at your work, who might be doing this? Maybe somebody that you knew a few years ago, some acquaintance?
Ever since it's happened, I've been trying to think of someone. I don't think I've ever met anybody who'd do this kind of thing.
Well, how about a former boyfriend or a girlfriend who might be jealous of you for some reason?
No. I did have quite a few boyfriends, just casual dates, nothing serious. They were always taking me out, dancing and out to parties. We went everywhere, but I was never interested in any of them.
No, were any of them upset when you stopped going out with them?
A few of them were angry when I wouldn't marry them, but I don't think any of them would write those kind of letters. Do you think the whole thing might be some kind of a joke someone's playing?
It's a pretty grim joke to go this far. You live by yourself, Miss Wilson?
No, with my mother, but I don't want her to know anything about this.
Well, I think it'd be wiser if you told her.
No, she mustn't know. Mother's been ill lately, and if she found out, it might upset her an awful lot. She's not well at all.
Help yourself to some of the water there, gentlemen. Miss Wilson, like a drink?
Yes, please, I would.
All right.
Thank you.
There you are. Anybody else? Reverend?
Yes, please.
Ben?
Nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yourself. How about some of the church members, Miss Wilson? Have any of them been at all unfriendly to you since you started coming here?
No, I don't think so. A few are pretty hard to get to know. They're shy, I guess. But none of them have been uncharitable.
Then you don't think the threats are coming from anyone in the church?
Well, if they are, I don't know who the person is. The way they say all those rotten things about me. They call me a sinner and a bad woman. Well, I guess I'm a sinner, like all of us are, but I'm not a bad woman. I'm going to church because I want to be born again of the light. But I've never killed anyone, and I've never been a bad woman. You believe me, don't you, Everett?
Yes, of course I do. Now, don't get yourself all upset, Sister Wilson.
You think that's why they want to murder me, because I'm a sinner? You think that's why?
Please, Sister Wilson, try and get your mind off.
If they want to kill me because I'm a sinner, then why don't they want to kill all the sinners?
Well, we're going to have a lot of homicides if they try. "10 p.m. Together with Sergeants Raines and Bechtel, we tailed Dorothy Wilson to her home. She parked her car at the rear and went inside. A stakeout was placed on her house. The next morning, we took the threatening letters which the Wilson girl had received and asked Don Meyer in handwriting to check them over. During the next 5 days, we checked thoroughly into the background of Dorothy Wilson. We talked to her relatives, her employers, all her friends, past and present. We had no good reason to suspect any of them. We checked out the people at the church, and they were clear. Both Reverend Small and the Wilson girl continued to receive more threatening letters. Some of the language and the accusations were pretty foul. Still, no outward attempts were made on the life of the Wilson girl. A week after we started on the case, we tallied up our findings. They seemed to make sense. We talked it over with Raines in the squad room.
Don Myers checking those letters and a sample of the Wilson girl's handwriting, isn't he? What's he got to say?
The letters written in longhand are signed to Sister and the Lord, and the typewritten letters are signed Brother D.R. Griswold.
Yeah, I know that.
Don says all the letters were written by the same person.
How's he figure?
Well, similarities in phrasing, same mistakes in spelling, typewritten and longhand both. Signatures on the Griswold letters match the handwriting in the other letters.
No, they were only dealing with one suspect.
And Don Meyer seems pretty sure of it, yeah.
Well, how does the Wilson girl's handwriting check out?
He's working on that.
Where does that leave us?
You've been on stakeouts at the Wilson girl's home a few nights. Haven't you noticed anything peculiar about the setup?
How do you mean?
Something that didn't fit, something that didn't quite jive?
No, I don't think so. Well, just that business about her car, I thought that was a little out of line.
Yeah, it struck us the same way.
Girl always seemed frightened enough about the situation when she's around us, but when she thinks she's alone, it looks to me like she takes it a little differently.
Yeah.
Every night when she drives home, she parks her car in that dark garage. Must be at least 50, 75 yards from her house.
Yeah.
I've never seen her look particularly nervous and taking that long walk to the front door.
I'm sure the normal reaction for a frightened woman would be to park the car right in front of the house and then hurry inside.
How about all those friends of hers you guys checked out? Anything there?
Well, we've been staked out at her house, the church, and her work. You know that. There's not a thing. Checked with some of her ex-boyfriends, too.
Nothing there?
Well, the Wilson girl told us that some of the boys had proposed to her. We couldn't find one who'd admit it. They all said she was a nice girl, but they didn't propose marriage.
Those threatening phone calls are another thing. Both the pastor of the church and Dorothy Wilson got letters, but only the girl received the phone call.
Yeah.
Well, logically, if the Reverend got the letters the same time as the girl, he should have been getting phone calls, too. He hasn't received the one.
Well, it could be accidental. Whoever wants to kill the girl might figure the Reverend would recognize his voice.
Well, it's possible, but you remember that story that the Wilson girl gave us about her mother. Remember that? She didn't want her to know about the letters because her mother was sick. Well, we checked with her mother's doctor, and Mrs. Wilson hasn't been sick in 5 years.
Yeah, how about that? What do you figure?
I think the girl's a fake. Everything we knew about the case of Dorothy Wilson, everything we'd learned through questioning and observation seemed to point to one definite conclusion. Dorothy Wilson, for one reason or another, was writing the threatening letters to herself. As for the warnings that she got over the telephone, we only had her word for it. We took our findings to Captain Steed and laid out the case for him. He directed us to stay on it for a few more days until we could find enough evidence and testimony to prove out our theory. The following day, Dorothy Wilson received a letter more threatening than any of the previous ones. Reverend Small also received a copy of the same letter. Again, Don Meyer's opinion was that they were written by the same person.
Raines? What's it doing?
I don't know. Boys got any new theories?
What do you mean?
On the Dorothy Wilson case.
Do we need one?
Well, I don't think your old one's going to hold up.
Why? What's the matter?
She's at Georgia Street.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to kill her.
are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Oh, no.
Ah, that's different.
Yes, what a difference.
There's a difference you can hear, there's a difference you can see, but the difference in Fatima is quality.
Yes, friends, when you compare long cigarettes, you'll find that in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality of tobaccos, the finest Turkish and domestic varieties, extra mild and superbly blended to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, plump cigarettes rolled in the finest paper money can buy.
Quality even to the appearance of the bright, clean yellow package, carefully wrapped and sealed to bring you Fatima's rich, fresh, extra mild flavor.
Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all, long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
As soon as we got the report that Dorothy Wilson had been attacked by an unknown assailant, we drove to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital where she was being treated. Anderson and Bechtel from Homicide were standing by. We talked to the doctor, who told us that the victim had no serious injuries. She had 2 slight bruises on her upper arms and a slight bruise on her forehead. She complained of a headache. While the doctor made out his report, we questioned the Wilson girl. She told us that she'd gone to the Church of the Holy Book at 6 o'clock that night after work. She told us that she wanted to pray before the start of the regular service at 8:15 p.m. We asked her exactly when and where the attack occurred.
About 6:30, I felt a little tired. I told the officers on duty at the church I thought I'd get a little rest before services started, and then I went into the ladies' dressing room and laid down. That's what happened. It was terrible.
Did you see the person who tried to hurt you?
No. I was lying down with my eyes closed, and he must have come up from behind. Put his hands around my throat and started to press tight. It was awful, just awful.
What happened then, Miss Wilson?
Well, I fought as hard as I could. I kicked and scratched him, and I guess I hurt him because he let go of my throat for a minute. After that, he pulled me down on the floor. I remembered that. And then he put his hands around this part of my head like this.
Mm-hmm. The other officers told us that one of the choir members, Mr. Sherman, found you unconscious in the choir room. Is that right?
Yes. Whoever it was who wanted to kill me, they put a gag in my mouth and blindfolded me, then tied my wrists together with tape. That's how Mr. Sherman found me.
How long do you figure you were unconscious then?
I don't know. It was about 6:35 when I laid down in the dressing room. Mr. Sherman said he found me there at 20 minutes past 7.
And then you were out about 45 minutes, is that it?
I suppose so. I don't remember anything.
Well, what makes you think the person who attacked you wanted to kill you, Miss Wilson?
That's what they said in the letters, isn't it? They want to kill me for coming to church?
Now, your purse and everything that was in it was scattered all over the dressing room floor. Is that correct?
Yes, it was. My money and everything scattered all over. I guess they wanted to rob me, too.
$52 in cash. Is that what you had with you?
That's right, a $50 bill and some change. I don't know why they didn't take it. Maybe something frightened them off.
It's possible.
The officers found some other articles scattered around the dressing room. A roll of tape, a metal box that the tape came in, and a half a dozen razor blades. Did you notice any of these in the dressing room before you were attacked?
No, none of them. I never saw them before. Those razor blades, officer, what do you think they wanted to do with them?
There's no use thinking about that now. It's all over.
I knew I'd be protected. I felt the spirit. I knew the holy light would protect me.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you find whoever did it, officer?
Well, this is just a hunch, Miss Wilson.
Yes.
I think we already have. Before we left Georgia Street, we talked to the doctor in charge and got a release for the patient. Dorothy Wilson agreed to drive back with us to the office to make out a crime report. On the way, she seemed to lose most of her nervousness. She was relaxed and she talked quite a bit.
Religion's a great comfort to me, Sergeant. I think it's a great comfort to anybody, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe I'm different from most girls, but I get an awful lot out of my church. It's like Brother Small says, you have to be born again of the holy light if you really want to live. Don't you think so?
That's right.
I don't know what I'd do if it wasn't for my religion. No, I used to have a lot of boyfriends. Of course, I don't care for any of them anymore, but when I was younger, they were always taking me out all the time.
Yes, so?
Yes, I had a good time when I was younger, going out to dinner, dancing, parties. Fellas were taking me out all the time. Of course, that was when I was younger.
You're not much over 25 now, are you, Miss
I'll be
Wilson?
27 in August. That's pretty old for an unmarried girl, but I'm not worried. You get interested in more important things when you get older, isn't that right?
Oh, yes, that's right.
I remember when I was in junior college, how boy crazy I was. I remember that junior prom I went to. Seems such a long time ago.
Yeah.
I had the most beautiful white dress, Sergeant, with sequins. And the skirt was all white net gathered in here at the waist and it flared out real full.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the dance with one of the big football players. He looked so nice in his blue suit. His name was Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
I knew him for a long time. He's one of the fellows who asked me to marry him. I guess I was too particular. I just couldn't see any of them.
Would you mind if I laid out a few facts for you, Miss Wilson?
Oh, not at all, Sergeant. Go ahead, please.
Now, I'm not trying to embarrass you in any way, but since we've been on this case, we've checked with just about all the friends that you've had in the past few years, and that includes your boyfriends, of course.
Oh.
None of the fellows that you've mentioned say they've ever proposed marriage to you. Say they've been out with you once or twice, but that's all.
Oh, well, you probably didn't talk to the right fellows. You probably got the names mixed.
No, ma'am, we didn't. We talked to the right people.
Well, I can't understand that.
Neither can we, Miss Wilson.
Well, what difference does it make anyway? I wasn't interested in them. I wouldn't have married them anyway. Going out and dancing and parties, that's all they were interested in.
What reason did you have for lying to us?
Parking in a car, necking with girls, trying to take advantage of them. That's all those fellows wanted. Some of the silly girls they married.
Well, I don't...
You discover a lot more important things when you get older, Sergeant.
No, I don't think that's the point. Why did you lie to us about it?
I don't know, really. Maybe I didn't have a reason. I just didn't remember right, I guess.
Well, you sure you remember right about what happened tonight?
What do you mean? It just happened. Of course I'm sure about it. Someone tried to kill me.
Might as well park on Spring Street, Ben. Pretty clear this time of night.
Yeah, okay.
Sergeant, I wish you'd tell me what you're getting at. What are you thinking?
Well, there's still a few things that we're not too sure of, Miss Wilson. We'd like to clear them up.
What aren't you too sure of? I told you everything I knew. I was lying down in the dressing room and somebody tried to kill me. I told you all about it.
Well, you told us you were unconscious about 45 minutes.
Well, yeah, 40 or 45.
No, we talked to the doctor at Georgia Street, and from the way you described the attack, it would have been just about impossible for anybody to make you unconscious that long by pressing his hands against your head.
Well, but he hit me on the head, too. You can see the bruise here.
Well, yes, ma'am, I know, but that's very slight. The doctor says that couldn't have done it either. Just a minute, I'll get the door here. Easy out, Miss Wilson.
What else aren't you sure of?
Well, your wrists were taped individually. Now, if somebody wanted to restrain you, they probably would have taped them together, wouldn't they?
Well, I don't know what they would have done. All I know is they wanted to kill me. They said so in those letters.
We're not too sure of those letters either, Miss Wilson.
What? What aren't you sure of?
Where they're coming from and who's sending them. We do know they were all written with the same person.
How do you know that? They're signed by two different people.
Our handwriting man checked them over. He says they're written with the same person.
You might as well have it straight, Miss Wilson.
If we're going to talk, can't we do it inside someplace? Please, I'm tired.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
I'll see if Leighton's fingerprints is finished with that stuff.
Yeah, I'll bring it along if they are. We'll be in the interrogation room.
Yeah, all right.
This way, Miss Wilson.
A man I know used to be on the police force. Nice fellow. We used to go out all the time together.
Oh, that's so. What's his name?
Well, that's funny. I don't remember. He's an awfully nice fellow, though. We used to go dancing every week.
Mm-hmm. Here we are. Go right ahead. I started questioning Dorothy Wilson, but she wanted to talk about everything except what concerned the case. Dean Bergman and Leighton fingerprints had already checked each article that was found at the supposed scene of the crime. The Wilson girls' prints were all over them.
Did you write those threatening letters to yourself, Miss Wilson?
I don't understand. Why do you ask me something like that?
Did you write the letters to yourself?
You know that's not a fair question, Sergeant.
I don't know what you consider fair, but we'd like to know, did you write the letters?
Do you know what it is to pray, Sergeant? I mean, really pray?
What's that got to do with it?
I've been praying all my life. I've been praying hard. Ever since I was a little girl.
We'd like to have your answer our question, Miss Wilson.
I think you'll understand. This is the answer, Sergeant. I can feel the Holy Spirit in my heart. I know you'll understand.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been praying for an awfully long time, Sergeant. When I was a little girl, 6 years old, I was praying. Night and day I said my prayers, but there never seemed to be any answer. I never could understand it because I only prayed for one thing. I didn't think it was too much to ask.
What was that?
I wanted people to know me, Sergeant.
Hmm?
I wanted people to know me and like me, that's all, but it never seemed to happen, even when I was a little girl.
Don't think I quite follow you, miss.
You've got to understand me. Nobody else does. From the time I was a little girl, 6, nobody ever seemed to care if I was around or not. I always tried to make friends, tried to make people like me. I tried very hard, but nobody seemed to care. Nobody even noticed me. Nobody ever noticed me.
You mean that's why you wrote those threatening letters to yourself, so that you'd be noticed?
I wanted somebody to care about me, that's all. I wanted them to know who I was. Dorothy Wilson. I wanted to walk down the street and have people nod and have them say, that's Dorothy Wilson. There goes Dorothy Wilson. Just for somebody to care, that's all, Sergeant. Just for somebody to care.
Well, then the whole thing's purely your imagination. You wrote the letters to yourself, and you pretended somebody attacked you. And all the rest.
God told me to do it, Sergeant. He told me to make myself noticed. To stand up and make people know me. I'm sorry for it now, but it didn't hurt anyone, did it?
Well, ma'am, you had an awful lot of people working for nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was so nice while it lasted. People looking after me, caring about where I went, what happened to me. It's the first time anybody ever really noticed me.
It was that important to you?
People knew who I was. Dorothy Wilson. They all noticed me. I feel better now that it's over. Oh, there's one thing I've got to tell you, Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember driving here in the car I told you about that junior prom I went to?
Mm-hmm.
That time I had a beautiful white net dress with a full skirt, the beautiful new white dress.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am, I remember. What about it?
Well, it was really pink organdy, an old dress. I knew you'd find out. That's why I had to tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to think I was a liar.
The story you've just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
In a moment, the results of the trial. Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Dragnet's mail this week has included cards from some of you listeners saying that your dealer is out of Fatima's. Thank you. We've done something about that. Now, if any more of you find a dealer fresh out of Fatima's, send me his name and address, and we'll do something about that, too. Write me, Jack Webb, Post Office Box 951, Hollywood. And, Mr. Dealer, don't wait a day. Step up your orders for Fatima. Get in on this ever-increasing demand for the quality long cigarette.
By her own admission, Dorothy Wilson was guilty of filing a false crime report, a misdemeanor. She was released into the custody of her mother. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases transcribed from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a homicide detail. A newborn baby is taken from a hospital nursery. There's no trace of the infant. There's no trace of the abductor. Your job, find him.
You'll be amazed when you compare Fatima with other long cigarettes.
Buy a pack of Fatimas.
You'll find they now cost the same.
Light a Fatima. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, what a difference.
In Fatima, the difference is quality. You see, Fatima is the quality king-size cigarette because it contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild with a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. Because of its quality, its extra mildness, its better flavor and aroma, Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast.
Try comparing Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all, long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Thursday, January 28th. It was raining in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Steed. My name's Friday. It was 11:35 p.m. when we got to Mercy Hospital on Norwich Avenue, the main entrance.
Better check at the desk.
Yeah.
2B, right away, Eleanor. 2B, Wayne. Yes, sir?
Police officers, we received a call from the hospital here.
Oh, yes, sir. Right this way, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Walsh is waiting for you.
Is he the man in charge?
Oh, no. Dr. Walsh is the head of the hospital.
I see.
Police, Dr. Walsh.
Hi. Come in, please. Come in.
Thank you, miss.
Yes.
Dr. Walsh?
How you do?
It's my partner, Sergeant Romero. My name's Friday.
Yes, I'm waiting for you. Would you have a seat, please?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Gentlemen, I just got here a few moments ago myself. No doubt you know as much about this as I do.
We were notified that a 3-day-old baby's missing. Is that correct?
Yes, one of the Stryker twins. Found just Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm. Where'd the baby disappear from, Doctor?
Nursery. Can't understand how it could happen. Never heard of such a thing.
Who was in charge of the nursery?
Nurse O'Connor. She's back with the superintendent of nurses. Quite upset. Would you like to talk to her?
Yes, sir, we would.
All right. This way, please.
Thank you.
Can't understand it. How could a baby disappear like that?
Have the parents been notified?
Father's on his way in now. We haven't told the mother yet.
Mm-hmm. When did they first notice the baby was gone?
I understand it was around 11 p.m.
Call came into our office about 11:20.
Go ahead, Sergeant. Nurse O'Connor?
Yes, Dr. Walsh.
These gentlemen are from the police department. Sergeant Romero, Sergeant Friday.
How are you, man?
How do you do?
I want to know all about what happened tonight. You know, of course, it's a serious matter. Try to tell exactly how it happened.
I'll try, Doctor.
All right, officers.
All right, thank you. Well, we know that you're probably pretty upset, nurse, now. You just relax and take your time.
Yes, sir.
When did you first notice that the Stryker baby was missing?
Must have happened somewhere between 11 o'clock and 10 minutes past 11. I'm sure of that.
How are you sure of that?
I came on duty a few minutes before 11. I took the night reports as usual, and then I started checking the orders and the formulas. I remember very well that both the Stryker twins were in their cribs at that time.
Mm-hmm. Go on, please.
I think it must have been about 5 minutes past 11 when I got this phone call from home. My mother's been sick lately. It was about her.
How far did you have to go to answer the phone?
About 10 feet down the hall from the nursery, just around the corner.
Could you see the entrance to the nursery from where you were talking on the phone?
No, sir, I couldn't. But I was only on the phone for a minute or two. As soon as I hung up, I came right back to the nursery.
Was the telephone call actually from your mother?
Yes, sir. My mother has a heart condition. She wanted me to be sure and have a prescription filled.
What time was it when you got back to the nursery, owner? Can you remember that?
It wasn't quite 10 minutes past 11. As I came back through the door into the nursery, I noticed right away one of the cribs was empty. One of the Stryker twins was gone.
Is there more than one entrance to the nursery, Miss O'Connor?
Yes, sir. There are 2 entrances, but at night one of them's kept locked.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible that somebody in the hospital, maybe a doctor, took the baby for examination or some kind of treatment?
No, sir. Just as soon as I noticed the baby was gone, I went to the head nurse, and the 2 of us contacted everybody in the hospital. No one knew anything about it.
Well, is it possible that the child's mother could have come down from the 2nd floor and taken the baby?
No, sir. Miss Stryker's been asleep since 10 o'clock. She's still asleep.
Were there any other nurses or attendants working near the nursery when the baby disappeared?
No. No reason for anyone besides myself to be around at that time. None of the cleaning people. They'd all gone home.
Dr. Walsh, I wonder if we could have a look at the nursery now.
Certainly, Sergeant. Want Nurse O'Connor to come along?
Yes, would you please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This way, gentlemen. Straight down the hall.
What are the hospital visiting hours, Doctor?
The usual. 2 until 4 in the afternoon, 7 to 9 in the evenings. Quite strict about that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if all the visitors had left the hospital by 9 o'clock tonight?
Of course, I wasn't here, but the superintendent of nurses told me they'd all left by 9. She's compiling a list of every visitor we had this evening. Good.
They'll all have to be checked.
Nursery's right here, officers.
Mm-hmm. This empty crib just inside the window here.
Yes, sir. It's where the baby was. You can see it's right next to the door here.
I noticed that there's no blanket in the crib. Is that missing, too?
Yes, sir. Crib's just the way I found it when I came back from the telephone. I hadn't touched it.
Are there any marks of identification on the blanket or the clothing?
Each one stenciled Mercy Hospital. Each baby wears an ID bracelet.
Doctor, I wonder if we could have that crib brought out to have it checked for possible fingerprints.
Certainly, of course.
Is this the other door to the nursery you mentioned, Miss O'Connor?
That's right, Sergeant. I checked it. It's locked.
That large window on the other side of the nursery. Is that a stationary window?
Yes, sir, it is. It faces onto a small court.
Well, then whoever took the baby had to use this door.
It's the only way they could have gotten in. Oh, excuse me a minute. I want to attend to the baby in there.
Sure.
Listen to that, Joe.
Yeah. Doctor, are there any other entrances open at night besides the main one?
Not after 10 p.m., no. Just the main entrance on Norwich Avenue. There's a nurse on duty there at all times.
How about the parents? Is there anything unusual there?
No. Father's a working man. Mother's a housewife. Both the babies are perfectly normal. Nothing unusual at all.
3-day-old baby. They usually take a lot of careful handling, don't they?
Yes, definitely. First week's always critical. And this thing, taking a 3-day-old infant out in this weather, cold, rain. Afraid the odds are all against the child.
You're sure the main entrance was the only one open after 10 o'clock?
Yes. I can't understand it. How could anyone get that baby out of that hospital? How could they?
We're not sure they did. Midnight. A 3-day-old twin boy was missing from his crib in the hospital nursery. That's all we knew. We checked the list of possibilities. The baby could have been taken for ransom. Somebody wanted revenge on the Stryker family and decided on the baby as the best means. Maybe someone just wanted a child, someone mentally unsound, a maniac, a pervert. Maybe an accident had happened at the hospital. Somebody wanted to cover up. Possibly one of the parents or their families had a motive. Perhaps somebody just wanted the child dead. We called the office and got out an APB on the Stryker baby and a description of the blanket and the clothing. Details of officers were alerted at the bus depots, railroad terminals, the airports, all public transportation facilities. Steps were taken to notify doctors, hospitals, sanitariums, anybody in any place where a 3-day-old baby might be taken. The entire area around Mercy Hospital was canvassed. No information. The baby's crib was dusted for prints. No leads, no physical evidence. The investigation continued. When George Stryker, the father of the child, arrived, Ben and I met with him in the office of the hospital superintendent.
Can't we let people know about it? Newspapers and the radio?
We've already covered that. Stories and pictures have gone out to the papers. We've notified the radio stations. They're getting out broadcasts on it.
How am I going to tell my wife?
Well, sir, there's only one thing that we can promise you. We'll do everything we can to find your baby.
Well, isn't there something I can do? Isn't there some way I can help?
This is just a remote possibility, Mr. Stryker, but you ought to know about it.
What's that?
In case anybody contacts you regarding your baby, in case they make any demands on you for money or anything else, we want you to notify us immediately.
What could they expect to get from us? We own our home. That's about all.
We just want to cover all the possibilities, Mr. Stryker. In case any demand at all is made, don't try to deal with the people. All right?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Sergeant?
Yeah.
One of the men from homicide like to see you outside. Sergeant will leave us.
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
We'll have to go now, Mr. Stryker. We'll keep you informed.
All right, thank you.
Joe?
Yeah, I'll leave us.
I think we got something back here.
What's that?
Encinas and I were the night watchman out back, the side of the hospital that faces on Stacy Avenue.
Yeah.
2 doors back there, just off the street. One of them's open.
Together with Sergeant Olivas and Dr. Walsh, the head of the hospital, we went back and examined the side door which opened onto Stacy Avenue. The latch was obviously faulty. It took only slight pressure on the door to open it. The latch, both doorknobs, and the door itself were dusted for prints. The entranceway and the immediate area were rechecked. No leads, no physical evidence. We traced an imaginary path from the open door to the nursery. We came to the conclusion that it could have been possible for an abductor to enter the hospital, make his way to the nursery, take the child from its crib in the absence of the night nurse, and leave by the same side door without being seen. Storekeepers and residents along Stacy Avenue were re-questioned. We got nowhere. When the abduction story broke in the newspaper and over the radio the next morning, the calls started to come in. People in practically all sections of the city thought that they'd seen the missing baby. Each call was carefully checked out. None of them paid off. 10 a.m. We checked back in at the office.
I must be getting old, Joe. Can't seem to take these all-night sessions like I used to.
I'm pretty tired. I drank too much coffee again. I got a sour stomach.
Hi.
Hi, Olivas.
All right. Stats office come up with that run for us yet?
No, they're still working on it.
How about that San Bernardino call?
Yeah, they called back. They picked the woman up when she got off the bus, checked her and the baby out. The baby belongs to her.
Mm-hmm. Anything else come in?
All been checked out. The press called again, want to know if there are any new leads.
Yeah.
Sergeant Friday in here?
Yes, sir. Can I help you?
They told me in the business office to come down and see you.
Surely. Come on in.
Thanks. My name's Wallace. I'm the desk clerk down at the hotel on 11th Street, Bluebird Hotel.
Yes, sir.
I got some information I'd like to talk to you.
All right, sir. This is my partner, Sergeant Romero, and Sergeant Olivas.
How are you?
Wallace. What's the information about?
Well, I got hold of a paper this morning, read about that baby that's missing.
Yes, sir.
Imagine those people are pretty worried about the kid. Guess they'd like all the information they can get, huh? Looks like that hospital's in a jam, wouldn't you say?
Well, what information do you have, Wallace?
I guess those parents could sue the hospital if they wanted to, huh?
Well, sir, all we're interested in is finding the baby. Can you help us there?
Well, I don't know for sure.
What are you trying to tell us? Have you seen the baby?
Well, I may have. Do you happen to know if they're offering any reward for information?
Well, I don't know where they'd come from. The father's a working man.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Sergeant. I don't expect anything for any information I'd give, but, well, I don't make too much at the hotel. You know, if they wanted to show their gratitude in some way, just thought I'd mention it.
No, thank you, Wallace. Don't worry about that. Now, what's the information?
Well, you know, I didn't mean anything by that. Anybody'd be glad to help out in a case like this. What I came in to tell you was a woman and a young baby checked in the hotel last night when I was on duty.
What time?
I think it was about 12 o'clock. Woman didn't have any baggage or anything, one little blanket around the kid. When I saw that story in the paper this morning, I got suspicious.
Is the woman still registered at the hotel?
She was when I left. That was about an hour ago.
What name did she register under, you remember?
No, I don't, but it's in the register. You can check it if you want.
Where is the hotel?
11th and Charleston, right in the corner. I'm sure it must be the kid you're looking for. Say, I hope you haven't got me wrong.
How do you mean?
About the reward, you know. I don't expect anything for this.
We haven't got you wrong. 5 a.m. It was still raining. Together with the desk clerk, Wallace, we drove to the Bluebird Hotel on 11th Street. We checked the cards at the desk and found that the woman had registered under the name of Mrs. Harold Parks. The clerk on duty told us as far as he knew she was still in the room with the baby.
The room's down this way, Sergeant.
Okay.
This is the 116. Mrs. Parks. Mrs. Park.
You have a pass key with you, Wallace?
Here you are.
Thank you.
There's nobody here.
Wait a minute.
What have you got?
Small blanket. Check the lettering.
Mercy Hospital.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Oh, no.
Ah, that's different.
Yes, what a difference.
There's a difference you can hear, there's a difference you can see, but the difference in Fatima is quality.
Yes, friends, when you compare long cigarettes, you'll find that in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality of tobaccos, the finest Turkish and domestic varieties, extra mild and superbly blended to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, plump cigarettes rolled in the finest paper money can buy.
Quality even to the appearance of the bright, clean yellow package, carefully wrapped and sealed to bring you Fatima's rich, fresh, extra mild flavor.
Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all, long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Friday, January 29th, 11 a.m. We were unable to locate the woman who had registered at the hotel under the name of Mrs. Parks. There was no sign of the baby. The blanket we found in the room was identified by hospital personnel as the same type used in the nursery. The room was checked for fingerprints and physical evidence. We found nothing. People in adjoining rooms were questioned, but they could give us no information. We got a description of the woman who used the name Mrs. Parks from the desk clerk, and we got out an all-points bulletin on her. Her hotel registration card was checked for handwriting and fingerprints. Captain Steed ordered an immediate canvass of all hotels, apartments, and rooming houses in the central area. The hotel clerks were shown mug shots of possible suspects. They failed to identify any of them. 3 p.m. Friday, the search for the Stryker baby went on.
Yeah, checked out all right. Okay, Gil, thanks.
Anything?
Gil and Zenas checked that Wilshire call. It's another phone.
Might have something, fellas.
Yeah?
Ruiz and I were making the rounds of hotels out along Pico. Stopped at a drugstore for a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to druggists while we were there. Had a pretty good story for us. You got a light?
Yeah. Here you go.
Thanks. This drugstore is 2 blocks from the hotel where the woman stayed. It's open all night. And the druggist told us the woman answering this Mrs. Parks' description came in about 1:30 a.m. Bought a whole raft of stuff.
How do you mean? What kind of stuff?
Well, everything for a baby. Bottles, nipples, dextrose, oil powder, all that stuff.
Was he sure of the woman's description?
He gave it to us before we'd even mentioned what this Mrs. Parks looked like. Right down to the color of her coat.
Did she have the baby with her when she bought this stuff?
The druggist said no. She even asked him if she could buy canned milk there.
Where does it lead?
How do you mean?
Does he have any idea where the woman came from, where she went?
No, but he said if she came back in again, he'd call us right away. He's going to notify the other clerks, too. They'll keep us posted if anything turns up.
I got it. Homicide, Friday.
My name's Mrs. Lucy. I'm calling about that missing baby in the paper. Am I talking to the right department?
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any information on the case?
Well, I certainly have. I know where that Stryker baby is right now.
Where's that, ma'am?
Right next door. The Salazars have him.
What makes you so sure?
It's perfectly obvious, that's all. It's not their baby.
Why do you say that?
That baby they have no more looks like Mr. Salazar, Mrs. Salazar, than mine do.
How do you mean, Mrs. Lucy?
It's very simple. Mr. Salazar is dark, quite dark. Dark hair, dark eyes, dark complexion. His wife's the same way.
Yes, ma'am.
The baby they have is a blonde.
Before I hung up, I got the woman's name and address and told her that we'd check out her neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Salazar. We weren't sure what it meant. It could be the real thing. It could be like 100 other calls that we'd had in the last 12 hours. Ben and I got in the car and drove out to the Salazar home on Wonderland Avenue. We noticed several cars parked in the driveway and in front of the house. We went up the front stairs and rang the doorbell.
Yes, sir? Come on in, please.
We'd like to speak to Mr. Salazar.
Yes, sir, that's me. Come on in.
Thank you.
Come inside. Let me fix you a drink. You're late, huh?
No, thank you. We're police officers, Mr. Salazar. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Oh? What's the matter? We making too much noise for the neighbors?
No, it's not that, sir. Just like to ask you a few questions. Someplace we can talk.
Well, I have to take care of the guests, We have this party here. My son was baptized today, my first son. That's why we're having a party.
Yes, sir. We're sorry to interrupt, but this is pretty important. It won't take very long.
Well, all right. I guess they can get along for a few minutes. Back here in the kitchen. It's probably the quietest place.
Fine.
Back this way, officer?
Fine.
Over there. Pull up a couple of chairs.
Oh, thank you.
Miss Salazar, this is my partner, Sergeant Romero. My name's Friday. Homicide.
Yes, sir. What's the matter? What do you want to ask me?
We're investigating a case that involves a missing baby, sir.
Well, the one in the paper this morning. I read about that. It's a terrible thing, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. We've had a report that the missing baby was seen in this neighborhood. We don't know how true it is, but we have orders to check it out.
Well, sure, anything I can do. I don't know how much I can help, but I can understand how that mama and papa feel. My brand new son, I know how I'd feel.
How old is your son, Mr. Salazar?
He's just 1 week old this afternoon. Fine boy.
Was the baby born here in Los Angeles?
No, I sent my wife Roberta to Phoenix to have a baby. We thought it'd be a lot healthier for her down there. She has a good friend of hers in Phoenix.
Oh, I see. Your wife had the baby in Phoenix, and then she brought him back here.
Yes, that's right. Roberta came in early this morning. Big surprise for me. I didn't know she was coming. Right away, I called all our old friends. I called Father DeSoto for the baptism, and I got things ready for the party. Big baptism party.
Mm-hmm. You say your wife got back early this morning?
Yes, a few minutes after 3 o'clock. Roberta came in on the plane. She said it was late. A big storm.
I wonder if we could talk to your wife, Mr. Salazar.
Well, Roberta's taking a little nap right now. She got in late, all the excitement. Do we have to wake her up?
Well, no, sir, not right away. I just wondered if we could see the baby.
Well, the baby's sleeping, too. Roberta said not to go in, but... Well, if you're real quiet...
Yes, sir, we'll be.
Okay, he's right back. Over here.
Let me pull the blanket down. Yeah. There he is. Big fella, huh?
He's blonde.
Huh?
What do you think, Jim?
I think he's got a twin. 5 p.m., Harlan Stahl from Leighton Fingerprints arrived at the Salazar home. The footprint of the missing child, taken at the time of birth, was compared with the print from the child the Salazars had. The prints were identical. The missing baby had been found. 5:20 p.m. Ben and I talked with Mrs. Salazar in the kitchen of her home. The christening party went on.
I don't think I understand what this is all about, officer. What has my baby got to do with all this?
You know as well as we do, Miss Salazar. That baby in there, it doesn't belong to you. It's not yours.
What do you mean it's not mine? Of course it's my baby. My husband's and mine. I just brought him from Phoenix last night. That's where the baby was born. What are you trying to do to me?
That baby isn't yours, Mrs. Salazar. Now, you know that. It was taken from the hospital. How about the truth?
You don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're talking about. It's my baby. He was baptized today. Juan Tomas Salazar. It's my baby.
This is a pretty serious matter, ma'am. The baby's footprint has been checked out. The child belongs to a Mrs. Stryker. We want to know how you happen to have him.
Because he's my baby. That's why I have him. You don't know what a mistake you're making. He's my baby. I brought him from Phoenix last night. You can ask my husband. He'll tell you.
A woman checked in at the Bluebird Hotel on 11th Street about midnight last night, Mrs. Salazar. She had a young baby with her. You fit her description.
I didn't go to a hotel last night. The plane landed here from Phoenix. I came right home.
The hotel clerk remembers you. He can identify you. So can the druggist when you bought the supplies for him.
I bought nothing. The plane landed. I came home. It's my baby. It's my baby.
We found the baby's blanket in the hotel room you rented. We have your description from at least 3 people, even the color of the coat you wore last night.
You can't take him away. He belongs to me. Me and Frank, you can't take him away, please. You can't.
Miss Salazar, why don't you put yourself in the place of the real mother of that baby? How do you think she feels about her baby being taken away? How about it, Miss Salazar?
Have a drink, officer, please? For the party? Have a drink, I'll tell you.
Tell us what, ma'am?
I'm tired. Let me sit down.
Yeah.
Wait, for a few minutes. I'll tell you how it happened. I know you understand.
Yes, ma'am.
It'll be 11 years next month that Frank and I were married. I don't have to tell you we want a baby. Frank always wanted a baby. But no more than I did. It's what we live for. A baby of our own.
Yes, ma'am.
Boy or girl, we didn't care. But we didn't have one. For 11 years, we didn't have one. Then last April, that's when the doctor told me. He said I was going to have a baby.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Well, a month before the baby was born, we thought it would be better if I went to my friend's place in Phoenix, Arizona. For the winter, you know, it would be warmer there. Frank thought it would be nicer for me and the baby.
Your husband was still in Los Angeles?
Yes, he tried to come to Phoenix, but he had to work, so I had my baby alone. It was a boy. My friend was with me. She'll tell you it was a boy.
Yes, ma'am.
I kept calling for him to bring my baby. It was a long time I kept calling. Then they finally came. And the doctor, too. And he's the one that told me.
Yes, ma'am.
He looked just like his father. I know that. but they told me he was dead. I don't remember much after that, Sergeant. I got out of the hospital and I took the plane and I came back here.
Mm-hmm.
It was dark and it was raining. But I walked around. I walked up and down the streets thinking, what could I tell Frank? Baby was dead, that's all I could tell him. Then I walked past the hospital.
That was Mercy Hospital, huh?
Yes. And it was raining. And I could see all those babies inside, warm and in their cribs. And I wanted just one of them. Just one for Frank and me. So I went in the side door and I found the nursery. And when the nurse was gone, I took him and left. My baby. I went to the hotel to keep him out of the rain. And when it cleared a little, I took him home. I took him home to Frank. I took my baby home. That's why you want my baby, isn't it? Because I took him? Because my baby died and I took him?
Everything will be all right, Miss Salazar. I think we can straighten it out.
Roberta, you talked to the officers?
Frank, what do you want me to say?
It'll be all right, officers. Won't everything be all right?
Yes, sir. I think we can work it out.
What could I tell you, Frank? What was there to say to you?
It's all right, honey. It's all right. I'll go out and tell the people now.
And what can you say? What can you tell them?
The party's over. It's just a mistake.
The story you've just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
In a moment, the results of the trial. Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Last week, I asked you to write me if your cigarette dealer was out of Fatima's. Well, you did, and we've done something about it. Now, if any more of you find a dealer fresh out of Fatima's, send me his name and address. We'll take care of that, too. Write me, Jack Webb, Post Office Box 951, Hollywood 28. And, Mr. Dealer, don't wait another day. Step up your Fatima order for Thanksgiving and the coming holidays. Get in on the increasing demand for Fatima, the quality long cigarette.
Roberta Salazar was examined by 6 psychiatrists and was ordered to be placed in a state mental institution for treatment. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases, portions transcribed from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Coming up, We the People, then Screen Directors Playhouse on NBC.
To hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a homicide detail. A man and his wife are found dead in a rooming house. A dead parrot lies on the floor beside them. The killer set fire to the room to cover his tracks. Your job, get him.
You'll be amazed when you compare Fatima with other long cigarettes.
You'll find they now cost the same. But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
You see, Fatima is the quality king-size cigarette because it contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. Because of its quality, its extra mildness, its better flavor and aroma, Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast.
So try comparing Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, April 2nd. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the early morning watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from communications, and it was 5:25 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Hello?
Is this Miss Jones?
Yes, who is it?
This is Joe Friday. I'm sorry to bother you, Miss Jones. Is Lee there?
Oh, yes, Joe. Just a minute, I'll wake him. Lee, honey. Lee, it's Joe Friday. He wants to talk to you.
Yeah, Joe. What is it?
I'm sorry to wake you. Can you come down right away?
What's the trouble?
Got a call from fire headquarters a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah?
They had a fire in a rooming house over on 7th Street. They found 2 dead bodies in one of the rooms.
Yeah? They suffocated?
Well, the battalion chief doesn't think so. They found both bodies on the bed. There was evidence of arson in the room.
What kind of proof they got?
The victims. That's why we called you.
What you got?
Fire department thinks they were dead before the fire started. 5:30 a.m. Romero and I drove out to the rooming house on 7th Street. It was a 2-story building in the middle of the block between South Grand and Toledo Avenue. On one side of it was a small transient hotel, and the other, a building which housed a bookbinding firm and studios for an acrobatic dancing school. When we got there, the salvage crew was still working. We were directed to the 2nd floor, where we met with a man in charge from the fire department, Battalion Chief Sullivan.
It's right down the hall here. Watch your step there.
Oh, yeah. You have the names of the victims, Chief?
We think it's Guthrie, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Guthrie. Old couple, lived here for some time, I understand. Here we are. We figure that's where it started, right under the bed over there.
Heat must have been terrific. Look at the walls, Joe.
Yeah. This is where most of the damage was done, Chief?
No, rooms on both sides got it, too. Not as bad as this, though. Guthrie's had 2 rooms. This and the one adjoining. Through the door there.
Mm-hmm. When the fire starts, got any idea?
About 4:45, I'd say. Landlady smelled the smoke about 10 to 5, put in the alarm. Fire was out 3 minutes after 5.
Any other casualties besides the Guthries, I mean?
No, just the 2.
Okay.
Over on the bed here.
Yeah.
Well, the worst I've seen.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And Ben, you can see from the position of the 2 bodies, doesn't look to me like they suffocated.
Mm-mm.
No evidence that they tried to get out of the room. Both relaxed. Looks like somebody did them in, then tried to cover with arson, huh?
Oh, Chief.
Yeah?
On the floor there.
Oh, yeah, a parrot. Somebody wrung its neck, looks like to me, and then threw it there on the floor.
There's the empty cage there in the corner. Door's open.
Chief?
Yeah, Wyatt?
Schubert's still talking to the landlady?
He hasn't come back. Clyde'd like you to meet Friday and Rebello.
No.
Sorry, Friday and Romero, homicide detail. This is Clyde Wyatt from the arson squad.
Hi,
Wyatt.
How are you?
You want to show him that setup, Clyde? How it was touched off?
I'm glad to. You can take a look under the bed there. Tells most of the story. You see directly underneath there?
Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, Wyatt? Pretty charred.
Rags and papers.
Had a good soaking in kerosene before they were touched off. Strung out all under the bed here.
Couldn't miss, huh?
Thorough guy, whoever set it up. Most of the carpeting in the room was doused with kerosene, too.
This much you can count on. The man who touched it off knew something about timing devices. Want to show him that rig, Clyde?
Oh, right here.
Yeah?
Ordinary electric heater. This automatic timer was connected to it, then plugged in. Heater was placed under the bed right next to the rags and papers. Timer was set probably for about 4:45 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Timer let go on schedule. Heater warmed up. Rags and papers caught fire, then the mattress. You can see the rest for yourself.
That timer pretty intricate, Wyatt?
The man who put it together was no amateur, as the chief said. Must have known something about clockwork.
Wyatt, see you a minute.
Yeah, Mac. Excuse me, I'll be back in a minute.
You bet. Thanks very much.
You find anything else that might tie in, Chief?
Not in this room, no.
Dead parrot there. Door of the cage open.
Probably a pet. Might have been out of the cage at the time of the fire. Is it possible that the parrot could have suffocated, Chief?
Not from what I can see, no. As I say, it looks to me like somebody wrung the bird's neck. A few green feathers on the floor there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the adjoining room in there.
Okay.
I figure the Guthries used it as a sitting room.
Yeah.
You can see the fire didn't wipe out everything in here.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Joe. Come here a minute.
Right.
This carpet here with a door. Dark stains.
Let me see.
What do you think?
Could be blood.
Heavy stains. Sure enough of them.
Yeah. Looks like more of them by that desk there. And some on the wall, too.
Desk drawer's open here.
Yeah, I see that.
That's about it. You know as much as we do so far.
Yeah.
We know how the fire was touched off. We're satisfied it didn't kill those two people in there.
The boys from Larson Squad talking to the other roomers in the building?
Right now, you can check with them.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chief.
I certainly appreciate it.
Not at all. The usual breaks, isn't it?
How's that?
This is Fire Prevention Week.
5:53 a.m. Lieutenant Lee Jones and the crew from the crime lab arrived. Davis, the photographer, Dean Bergman from Leighton Prints. Pictures were taken of both rooms, which made up Mr. and Mrs. Guthrie's living quarters. Photographs of the bodies were taken. Bergman processed for fingerprints. While Lee Jones continued his investigation, Ben and I went down the hall to the landlady's apartment, where we met with Ray Schubert, one of the men from the arson squad.
These men are from Homicide Division. Sergeant Friday, Sergeant Romero, Mrs. Stedman, that right?
Yes, Clara Stedman. How do you do? I manage the house here. Would either of you care for a cup of tea?
No, thank you.
I wouldn't care for it. When did you last see Mr. and Mrs. Guthrie, ma'am?
Well, now, let me see. Miss Guthrie, I saw her just before dinner last night, a little before 6. I went in to borrow an egg and a cup of flour. She was all right then.
Was there anyone with her?
No, she was alone.
What about Mr. Guthrie? When did you last see him?
About 7:30. I looked out my window and I saw him closing up the parking lot.
Did the Guthries have any visitors at all yesterday? Do you remember that?
Oh, just one I know of. Jack Marshman. He's working for Mr. Guthrie. About a year now.
When did Marshman visit the Guthries, do you know?
Around 4 yesterday afternoon. Yes, I was there, too. Mrs. Guthrie and Jack and I had a cup of tea together. Then Jack left to go back to work, and then I left.
You didn't notice anyone else in or near the Guthries' rooms after that,
No. I had my dinner and listened to a radio play, and then I went off to bed.
Well, I know you're upset, Mrs. Stedman, but can you think of anybody who might have wanted to do away with the Guthries? Anybody who had a reason to do them harm?
Oh, as far as I know, Sergeant, they didn't have an enemy in the world. I guess I was wrong. It's a terrible, terrible thing.
Yes, ma'am. Now, we'll leave our card here with you.
All right.
If you want to contact us, don't hesitate to call anytime.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Stedman. Goodbye, ma'am.
Goodbye.
What time you got?
6:15.
That's pretty early. They ought to be able to post the bodies for us this morning.
Hey, Friday?
Oh, yes, Chief.
Jones, your crime lab man's looking for you.
Thank you. Ben, you called the coroner, didn't you?
Yeah, he's on his way over.
Good.
Lee?
Hi.
I'm looking for you. Got a few things.
Yeah, what's that?
This hammer. Found it over in the corner under some of the rubble.
Yeah.
These stains on the metal handle here, on the head,
Mm-hmm.
gave it the benzodine test. It's blood.
You figure it's a murder weapon?
I'll know more when I get the coroner's report. Bergman lifted a lot of nice prints. Blood them all over everything.
Yeah.
On the handle of this hammer, on that timing contraption over there, the one that touched off the fire, even left some in the next room, on that metal box in the drawer of the desk.
How do they look?
Had good prints from each room. They match. Go in the next room. Something else.
All right.
Yeah?
Those stains on the carpet by the door. The stains on the carpet by the desk. Those on the wall. Blood stains, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see here, trail of stains, all leading through the door into the murder room.
You figure they were murdered in here, and then the killer took the bodies in the next room and put them on that bed.
Then he set fire to cover up. That's my guess.
How about the prints on the box in that desk, Lee?
Might have been money in the box.
Possible burglary?
That's an angle. I'll take scrapings from these stains on a biological precipitant when I get back to the lab. I'll let you know how it comes out. Better start finishing up here.
Right, Lee. Thanks very much.
Well?
Well, looks like we're in fair shape. A hammer, a couple of fingerprints.
Righty. Romero?
Yeah, Schubert?
That fellow that worked for Mr. Guthrie in the parking lot, Jack Marshman, just got here.
Did you talk to him?
Wyatt and I have him in one of the empty rooms down the hall.
Thanks. Which way?
Down here. Seems pretty well broken up.
You talked to anyone besides you since you got here?
No, I told him the Guthries were dead, that's all. He's taking it pretty hard.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Right here.
As friends I had, Charlie and Marta. I knew I should have stayed with them. I knew I should have.
These men are from homicide, Mr. Marshman. Huh? Sergeant Friday, Sergeant Romero.
Hello, Mr. Marshman.
How are you?
I don't know what I can tell you. I can't understand. Poor Charlie and Marta. Well, what can I do to help?
We'd like to have you answer a few questions, if you don't mind, sir.
Certainly. Certainly anything to help out. Please, you got to find out whoever did it. You got to find out who killed them.
We're going to try, Mr. Marshman. Now, would you tell us the last time you saw the Guthries alive?
Sure. Maud, Mrs. Guthrie, about 4:15 yesterday afternoon. Me and Mrs. Stedman, she's the landlady, we had tea with her. Then I went back to help Mr. Guthrie at the parking lot.
Mm-hmm. When's the last time you saw him?
Oh, it's about 6:30. That's when I get off duty at the lot. I said goodbye to Charlie. Never dawned on me it was the last time I'd see him alive. I just can't understand. It's such a vicious thing. Charlie and Marta. It's really terrible.
Yes, sir. You want to just sit down there, Mr. Mark?
Thanks very much.
Ray.
Yeah?
Are you sure you're the only one who talked to Marshman since he got here?
That's right. I met him at the door downstairs.
Well, the only thing you told him was that the Guthries were dead.
That's all he got from us.
Any chance he could have been in the room since the fire?
Not a chance.
Then how do you know somebody killed him?
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
You'll be amazed when you compare Fatima with other long cigarettes.
Buy a pack. You'll find Fatimas now cost the same. Light a Fatima.
Ah, that's different.
What a difference.
Yes, friends, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Quality of tobaccos, the finest Turkish and domestic varieties, extra mild and superbly blended, to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, plump cigarettes rolled in the finest paper money can buy.
Quality, even to the appearance of the bright, clean yellow package, carefully wrapped and sealed to bring you Fatima's rich, fresh, extra mild flavor.
Try comparing Fatima yourself. Fatimas now cost the same as other long cigarettes, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Ask your dealer for Fatima, the quality king-size cigarette. Best of all long cigarettes. Start enjoying Fatima tomorrow.
Wednesday, April 2nd, 6:45 a.m. Lee Jones and his men completed their investigation and took their findings back to the crime lab for further examination. The deputy coroner arrived and removed the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Guthrie to the county morgue. Together with Clyde Wyant and Ray Schubert of the arson squad, Ben and I continued questioning the Guthrie's friend and employee, Jack Marshman. His answers got more confused, and he kept contradicting himself. In some ways, he seemed childlike. In others, a good deal more complex. We strung along. In order to keep up the pretense that he was not a suspect, we asked him to come along with us while we checked his living quarters, a 2-room basement apartment near Olympic and South Flower. We explained it as a routine check. Marshman was calm and self-assured.
Well, here it is, officers. You can see for yourself.
Yeah, Nice, comfortable place.
Oh, I like it. I've been here for about 3 years. Well, this room's where I do my living. Pull-down bed. It's a little gas plate over there. It's handy. Compact.
I see. What do you use this next room for here, Jack?
Oh, it's my shop. I like to put around. You care to see it?
Yeah, okay.
It's very nice. What's your hobby?
Watchmaking. Used to be a watchmaker. I haven't worked at it lately, though. Job's pretty hard to find.
Yeah. These parts here on the bench. You making something, Jack?
Oh, just fooling around. Old alarm clock there. I'm fixing it up for a friend.
All these wires and things. They all go into the works, huh?
More or less, yeah. Just something I was fooling around with. It keeps me busy, you know. I like a hobby. They say it's good for you.
That's what they say, yeah.
Where does this door go, Marshman?
Oh, it's my closet. Just some clothes and stuff in there. Just junk.
Don't mind if I look, do you?
Well, it's only a closet. There's just clothes and junk. There's nothing to see.
Say, Jack, do you usually keep this stuff around?
Huh? Oh.
It's kerosene, and it's pretty dangerous to store like this. There's no cap on it.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. I got to get a cap for that. I use it to wash up. My hands get dirty working around the bench.
This shirt, these trousers. Are yours, Jack?
I wish you wouldn't drag that stuff out. It gets my stuff all mixed up. Yeah, they're mine.
That's what I figured. The stains here is quite a few of them.
Some kind of paint I was using. I'm pretty sloppy with paint.
That's not paint, is it, Jack? It's a little like blood to me.
Well, what difference does it make? They're working clothes.
Thanks for your reason was in the day.
Oh, why don't you lay off?
Huh?
Who cares what kind of stain it is? You come in here snooping around, looking all around. I invited you in here. I didn't give you the place. This is my apartment, and this is my shop. Now, you can get out. You hear me? You both of you can get out.
What's the matter, Jack?
I said you can get out.
All right. You want to tell us before we go?
I'll tell you what.
Why you killed the Guthries.
What do you mean?
Why did you kill Mr. and Miss Guthrie?
No reason. I just did.
9 a.m. We put the stained clothing and the materials from the workbench in the car. Together with the suspect, we headed back for the office. On the way, Marshman was quiet. He asked for some breakfast. We stopped and bought him some ham and eggs. We tried to get him to talk. He refused. After breakfast, we dropped the stained clothing and the other things at the crime lab, and then we drove to the city hall. We parked the car in front of the Spring Street entrance and started up the stairs.
Hey, wait a minute.
What's wrong?
I've been thinking.
Yeah?
It's all a mistake.
What is?
I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't kill him.
9:47 a.m. Ben and I took the suspect into the interrogation room. We checked him through R&I. He had a record of 2 petty thefts the year before. We went back to the interrogation room and got on the phone. We called latent fingerprints.
We made them, Joe. The prints on the hammer, the timing device, and the metal box on the desk. They all belong to Marshman.
10:03 a.m. I called the county morgue.
Bodies identified as Mr. and Mrs. Charles Guthrie. Cause of death, Mrs. Guthrie. Multiple depressed fractures of the skull. Subarachnoid hemorrhage. Blunt instrument. Cause of death, Mr. Guthrie. About the same. Compressions of the brain in the occipital area around the brainstem.
10:25 a.m. I put in a call to Lee Jones at the crime lab.
The materials from the workbench are the same that went into that automatic timer, Joe. Piece together the cut ends of some of the wires. They match.
How about the stains on his clothes?
Human blood.
10:45 a.m. We laid it out for the suspect, step by step.
Let me rest a while. I'll feel better. Let me think.
We stayed with him. We waited. 11:20 a.m. The suspect opened his eyes.
Sergeant?
Yeah?
I want to talk about it.
11:25 a.m. Schubert and Wyatt from the arson squad joined us. We called in one of the stenographers to take Marshman's statement, Eleanor Eastlack. She automatically took down the time, the place, and those present.
Jack, this is Miss Eastlack. She's going to record your statement so there'll be no misunderstanding as to what you say at this time.
How do you do, man?
Hello.
Joe, you want to handle the question?
All right. Jack, we've got a few preliminaries here for you.
Okay.
John Everett Marshman, is that your true name?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
122 and a half Morgan Place, apartment B.
What's your age?
37.
Occupation?
Watchmaker, when I'm working.
Well, now, Jack, you've indicated to us in a previous conversation that you're willing to make a statement setting forth the true facts surrounding the deaths of Mr. and Miss Charles Guthrie.
That's right, I'll tell you.
Were you in their home Tuesday, April 1st? That's yesterday.
Yeah, that's right, I was.
What time did you get there?
First time? About 5 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. Mrs. Guthrie was there, and so was the landlady, Mrs. Stedman. We had some tea.
Was anybody else present while you were there?
No, it's just the three of us.
How long did you stay there?
I left about 4:15, I guess. Guess I was there about 20 minutes.
Where'd you go when you left?
Oh, back to the parking lot as usual. Charlie Guthrie left and went home to dinner. He got back about 6:15. I left at 6:30, quitting time.
Where'd you go after you left the parking lot?
Went around the block and then back to the Guthrie's place.
Why'd you go back there?
To get money. Charlie never paid me enough. Picked me up and expected me to work for nothing.
All right. Now, in your own words, will you tell us just what happened starting when you entered the Guthrie's apartment the second time?
Mrs. Guthrie opened the door and I went in. She gave me a cup of tea and I told her I wanted some money. She wouldn't give me any. I don't know why, but I was mad. I was sick and tired of both of them. They never gave me enough money.
Eleanor?
I'm getting it, Sergeant.
All right, go ahead, please.
Mrs. Guthrie went in the next room and I went over to the desk and got the money from the box that they keep it in. I don't know how much. I grabbed all of it and that parrot started squawking. Mrs. Guthrie came running in. She saw me with the money, and she says, Jack. I picked up something and hit her. It was the hammer. And I kept hitting her.
Can you remember how many times you hit her, Marshman?
Oh, I don't know. She fell down. The parrot was still squawking, jumping around the cage, and I went over and opened the door of the cage and pulled the parrot out. It stopped moving, finally. I went in the bedroom and threw it on the floor, and then I dragged Mrs. Guthrie in the bedroom and put her on the bed, and I left.
Where'd you go?
No, I don't know. I walked around. Tried to think of something. It's cold. I got a bottle of wine. I drank it, and then I got to thinking about what Charlie'd do when he got home. I knew he'd be sure I did it. He always blamed me for everything. So I finally went back to the Guthrie's place and found the hammer that I used on her.
What'd you intend doing with the hammer?
Killed Charlie. If she had it coming, so did he. You can't blame me if they forced me into it. Anybody would have done the same.
What'd you do after you found the hammer again?
I picked it up and waited for Charlie to come home. I remember that. Wine made me feel pretty good. I stood there in the dark holding the hammer, watched out the window for Charlie. It was cold out, I remember that. There was a radio on down the hall, and I held onto the hammer and waited for Charlie. The neon light across the street that came through the windows. The old lady was on the bed in there. I could see the parrot on the floor. It was quiet. I had a smoke. Traffic kept going by outside. I could hear that. I held onto the hammer. It's windy out. I kept thinking Mrs. Guthrie was looking at me from the bed, but she wasn't. Charlie came home at the usual time, a little after 7:30, and I stood by the door. He came in and closed the door after him. When he reached for the lights, I hit him. He fell down. I hit him some more. You couldn't blame me. Anybody would have done the same. Anybody would have, the way he kicked me around.
How many times did you hit him, Marshman?
I don't know.
Was it twice? 3 times?
I don't know. I hit him till he quit moving. That's all. I took him, dragged him into the bedroom, put him on the bed with his wife. I put him over. Wiped the stains off of me and left. It was the only thing I could do.
Where'd you go then?
My place. I knew that timer had to do the trick. I put it in a shopping bag with some stuff, and I went back to the Guthries. They were still there on the bed. Parrot was on the floor.
Would you repeat that last part, Mr. Marshman?
Oh, I said they were still on the bed, the Guthries, and a parrot was on the floor next to the bed. Put the kerosene on the carpet and the rags and paper under the bed and rigged up the electric heater and the automatic timer to set it off.
A little slower?
Yeah, we'll just speak up, Jack, and then slow it down just a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
How did you rig the timer to set off the heater, Marshman? Can you tell us?
Oh, it'd take all morning to tell you. You got the timer. I'll take it apart and explain it to you if you want.
All right.
What was your purpose in setting fire to the room? You knew both Mr. and Mrs. Guthrie were dead, didn't you?
Well, sure. Sure they were. They forced me into it. I set the fire to make it look like an accident, like they'd burned it.
Well, what'd you do after you set the timer?
Oh, I left, went down the street, bought a couple of bottles of wine, talked to the guy a minute. I walked around a while. It was too cold, so I went home.
When'd you get home?
2:30 maybe. I don't remember too well.
Did you go right to bed?
Yeah.
Did you go to sleep?
No. I laid there and read a movie magazine, drank the wine. Finally, I finished up the 2 bottles and dozed off.
What time did you get up?
A little before 6 this morning. Went down to the Guthries to nose around. That's when I met you guys. Well, you know all the rest because I've been with you ever since.
All right, Jack. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I told you everything.
All right. And this statement was given free and voluntarily, and there's been no promise of immunity or reward extended to you?
Yeah, that's right.
Was any force, violence, or duress used to induce you to make this statement?
No.
Okay. These questions and answers have been recorded by the secretary here. After they've been transcribed, will you be willing to sign it as a true statement?
Sure, I'll sign it.
All right, Eleanor. Can you get that out as soon as possible?
All right, Sergeant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that's it, huh? All of it?
That's it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm tired. It's been a long night, a long one.
Get used to it.
Huh?
They're going to get longer.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On July 29th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 86, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Recently, I've asked you to send me the names of cigarette dealers who are out of Fatimas. You see, the demand for Fatimas is so great that I want to make sure that all of you can buy them. So keep your letters coming. If you find a dealer fresh out of Fatimas, let me know, and we'll have something done about it. Write your dealer's name and address on a card and mail it to me, Jack Webb, Post Office Box 951, Hollywood 28. And now for you, Mr. Dealer. The coming holiday season will find new thousands insisting on Fatima quality. Step up your order for Fatimas tomorrow. Get in on the increasing demand for the quality long cigarette.
John Everett Marshman was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree, 2 counts, and arson, 1 count. He is now serving a life term in the state penitentiary without possibility of parole. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, the best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, portions transcribed from Los Angeles.
Coming up, We the People, then Screen Directors Playhouse on NBC.